If this video has reached you, it means you're seeking a change in your life, an improvement, or even to understand yourself and the people around you. And so, start the change right now by influencing your profile's algorithm. Like this video, comment on your thoughts, and what changes you hope to see in your life. And most importantly, subscribe to this channel so YouTube recommends more transformative and enlightening videos to you. This way, you'll truly witness the change and improvement in your daily life. When someone ignores you, the first impulse is to seek their attention. You panic, feeling you must do something to make that person see you, respond to you, validate you. And that's where you make the fatal mistake, acting out of desperation. You don't realize that in that moment, you've lost control of yourself and surrendered your emotional power to the other person. This not only reflects an unresolved internal wound, but is also the reason why the other person often pulls you away even further. Carl Jung taught that the human psyche is governed by unconscious processes that make us repeat the same patterns over and over until we make them conscious. If you react with anxiety when someone ignores you, it's because deep within you lies an unaddressed fear of abandonment. This fear, far from bringing you closer to the other person, traps you in your own emotions. The need for approval and the urgency to be seen lead you to act in ways that repel rather than attract. When you chase someone who is distancing themselves, you send an energetic message of lack. I am not enough without your validation. The other person's unconscious perceives this. No matter how hard you try to convince them, prove your worth, or make them see you exist, if your energy stems from fear, emptiness, and dependency, the effect will be the opposite. The problem is that we live believing the love and attention of others define us, when in reality, what defines us is the relationship we have with ourselves. Jung called this individuation, the process by which a human becomes a complete individual, no longer dependent on external factors to feel whole. This is where the paradox occurs. When you stop desperately seeking someone's attention, that person unconsciously begins to notice your absence. Not because you're playing games, but because your energy has shifted. You've stopped projecting need and started reconnecting with yourself. This is the true key. What truly attracts people isn't insistence or pressure, but authenticity and internal solidity. To reach this point, there's something you must do before anything else. Stop fighting the shadow within you. When someone ignores you, what hurts the most isn't their absence, but the meaning you assign to their indifference. You feel you're not valuable enough, that you did something wrong, or that there's something in you unworthy of being seen. But all of this is merely a projection of your shadow. Jung explained that the shadow is the part of ourselves we repress because it clashes with the image we want to project to the world. When someone ignores us, it activates this shadow, confronting us with the fear of being invisible, rejected, or abandoned. If you haven't integrated this part of yourself, you'll react from the wound. This is when you rush to text them, check their last online status, or seek signs they still care. But all of this isn't love. It's fear disguised as desire. The more you act from fear, the more you show you're not in control. What you truly must do is the opposite of what your instinct tells you. Instead of chasing that person or forcing a reaction, what actually works is entering a state of detachment. Not because you've resigned to losing them, but because you understand your worth doesn't depend on someone else's attention. When you achieve this, something fascinating happens. The dynamic shifts. Jung spoke of psychic synchronicity, the idea that energies align when a person's internal state changes. If you no longer need someone's validation, they'll perceive it, even if you can't see it immediately. When you disappear from their radar, no longer acting from lack, they begin to wonder why you're no longer there, why your energy has changed. But this process only works if you genuinely release the need for a response. If you do it hoping they'll return, you're still trapped in the same cycle. What you need isn't strategic absence, but internal presence. You must become someone who doesn't depend on others' reactions to feel complete. So the next time you feel the urge to insist, stop. Observe what's truly happening within. Ask yourself, is this love I feel, or is it fear? If it's fear, the only way to break the pattern isn't by gaining the other person's attention, but by facing what you've been avoiding within. True transformation occurs when you act from the certainty of your own value instead of anxiety, when you stop chasing and become the center of your own world. When this happens, the game changes entirely. When someone ignores you, what's truly at stake isn't the connection with them, but the relationship you have with yourself. Jung said most external conflicts are reflections of unresolved internal struggles. When you experience rejection or indifference, what's activated in your unconscious is a story you've lived before, even if you don't consciously remember it. Perhaps in childhood you felt invisible. Maybe you learned that to be loved, you had to strive harder, prove more, do more. Now, when someone ignores you, you revert to that childlike state, believing if you persist enough, you'll finally be seen. But this is a mental trap. The more you try to be seen, the more you reinforce the idea that you're not enough on your own. Jung explained that the unconscious doesn't distinguish between what's real and symbolic. If you feel worthless without someone's attention, your mind takes this as absolute truth and reinforces the pattern. But if you take their indifference as an opportunity to strengthen your own worth, rediscover yourself, and expand, you'll have taken the first step toward profound transformation. This is where many fail. Instead of using distance to grow, they obsess further, spiraling into repetitive thoughts, imagining scenarios, seeking explanations, and looking for signs of hope. What they don't understand is that in this process, they're pouring energy into something uncontrollable. The more you focus on the other person, the less energy you have for yourself. The secret isn't to ignore someone out of revenge or use absence as manipulation. Real change happens when you no longer need someone's presence to feel whole. When you understand your value doesn't depend on whether someone chooses to see you. At that moment, the other person unconsciously begins to perceive something different in you. It's not magic or seduction tactics, but a psychological reality. Attraction arises when there's balance. A person not desperate to be seen, not begging for attention, not orbiting another's world, becomes magnetic. But this change must be genuine. If you're still clinging to the hope they'll return, you'll keep projecting need, and the cycle repeats. The key is to free yourself entirely from the outcome and focus on yourself. When someone ignores you, the mind fills the void with assumptions, crafting stories about why they distanced themselves. You wonder if you did something wrong, said something incorrect, or should have acted differently. Without realizing it, you grant them power over your emotions, mood, and peace. Jung taught that the human mind is a constant battlefield between the conscious and unconscious. One of the greatest traps is projecting our fear of abandonment onto others. The pain of being ignored isn't about the absence itself, but what it represents to our psyche. The activation of a deep fear of being unimportant, unworthy of attention or love. But here's the truth. When someone ignores you, it's not always about you. There could be countless reasons behind their behavior, unrelated to you. Yet most people take indifference as a personal offense, proof of their inadequacy, when it's simply a sign the other is fighting their own internal battle. This is where your power lies. Instead of drowning in uncertainty or trying to decipher their mind, use this moment to reclaim your energy and shift your focus. Pouring thoughts into someone who isn't giving you their time wastes energy you could use to strengthen yourself. A common mistake is filling the silence with more words, attempts, or demonstrations. But what truly creates impact isn't insistence, it's the opposite, disappearing with purpose. Not as a strategy to punish them, but because you understand you can't force a connection with someone unwilling to engage. When you stop being available, when you vanish from their radar, the other person begins to notice your absence, not because you're manipulating them, but because your vibration has changed. You're no longer projecting desperation or signaling that you need to be seen. What once seemed certain, your presence, interest, availability, becomes an enigma. This is when the person who ignored you often starts seeking you, not because you played games, but because the energy has shifted. What was easy to ignore now feels like a void. But the crucial point is, by the time this happens, you'll have changed too. You won't be waiting in the same emotional place. When the person who ignored you finally returns, mixed feelings arise. Relief, and deep unease. This return tests the transformation you've achieved. It's the moment to reaffirm your path without falling into old dynamics. Don't act impulsively or let the past dictate the present. Maintain coherence with the new, strengthened version of yourself. Your unconscious might try to drag you back to old patterns where validation depended solely on another's presence and approval. But if you've learned to recognize and integrate your shadow, you'll know true growth lies in responding from calm and internal security. It's not about shutting the door to reconciliation, but approaching it from personal power, no longer seeking to fill a void or compensate for old wounds. The key is conscious observation of your emotions. Allow yourself to feel every emotion without judgment or impulsive actions that undo your progress. In moments of reunion, let inner wisdom guide you. Ask, am I reacting out of fear or the certainty of my worth? Am I letting the past drag me, or am I present, making decisions from integrity? Each answer brings you closer to authentic shadow integration and individuation, the process Jung deemed essential for a fulfilling life. If old attitudes tempt you, remember, every experience is a lesson. Their return could restructure the relationship from a new perspective or solidify your emotional independence. What matters is not compromising your inner peace or authenticity for approval that no longer defines you. Your inner transformation isn't measured by retaining others, but by staying firm in your essence, even when external circumstances shake your balance. Every step toward consolidating personal power is a triumph over old insecurities and a reminder that true freedom lies in harmony between your conscious and unconscious worlds. When the reunion settles and calm reigns, you face the next stage, consolidating your transformation and building authentic relationships with healthy boundaries. No longer reacting impulsively to every gesture or absence, you become aware that every experience, silence, or distant gaze is a teacher inviting you to deepen self-knowledge. From this new consciousness, every interaction becomes a chance to reaffirm emotional independence. You've learned that external validation doesn't define your worth. How you respond to silence or indifference reflects your commitment to growth. Instead of filling voids with old patterns of desperation, nurture your interior and strengthen the connection with yourself, the foundation of authenticity. This journey isn't immediate or linear. It's a path of ups and downs where every setback offers wisdom. Allow yourself to feel without judgment, recognizing every emotion, no matter how intense, is part of integrating your whole self. The key is to observe without attachment, learning from each experience without letting fear dictate actions. Internal transformation also means setting clear boundaries to protect your energy. By integrating shadow lessons, you realize you needn't tolerate attitudes perpetuating emotional dependency. Learn to say no when necessary, and prioritize what nourishes and propels you forward. This self-care becomes the basis for healthier relationships, where both can grow without destructive patterns. Every time you choose authenticity and inner strength, you send a powerful message. Your worth doesn't depend on external approval, and your peace is unshakable. In this renewed vibration, true magic happens. Not manipulation or calculated strategies, but a genuine shift in how you exist in the world. Over time, you'll notice new doors opening. People resonating with your essence will approach naturally, while those feeding on dependency fade away. This natural selection lets you surround yourself with enriching relationships that propel your evolution. Each step toward equilibrium, each decision for your well-being, reinforces the inner message that you're enough as you are. This security and self-trust are the foundation for authentic relationships. Letting go of what doesn't serve you isn't weakness, but profound wisdom. Recognizing true power lies in choosing what nourishes your soul. As you deepen this path, you'll realize silence and indifference, though painful, are invitations to reconnect with yourself. They signal a disconnection needing healing, not through external answers, but by exploring the vast internal universe always within you. The challenge is transforming rejection into opportunities to grow, love more fully and consciously. Doing so frees you from emotional dependency and makes you an inspiring example. Facing indifference with dignity and serenity turns you into a beacon, showing that wholeness comes from integrating all parts of yourself. Every encounter and absence becomes a brushstroke painting the portrait of a complete being capable of unconditional love and inner harmony. This journey isn't easy, but deeply enriching. You'll discover true transformation occurs when you stop seeking externally what you've always carried within. Each experience, silence, and reunion is part of a greater process. Discovering your inner power. Transforming rejection into growth reconnects you with yourself and opens doors to authentic relationships. What seemed painful becomes a lesson in self-acceptance and resilience, a reminder that your worth resides in your deepest strength. This journey toward shadow integration and authenticity isn't solitary. It's an invitation to explore, learn, and share. Every choice to act from serenity and self-worth sends a powerful message, inspiring others to do the same. When you become your own beacon, you ignite transformation in genuine exchange. Share this message with those needing to hear that true strength lies in embracing our wholeness. Every interaction, like, or comment amplifies this message, creating a space where we transform pain into power, silence into wisdom, and indifference into change. Remember, true transformation begins within. It's not about seeking externally what you've always had inside, but discovering the latent force, letting you live fully and authentically. Share this video, subscribe, and enable notifications for content inspiring introspection and life transformation. Together, we can reach many and build a movement of change and self-knowledge, illuminating the path for those seeking deeper meaning in relationships and existence. Thank you for being part of this journey and inspiring others to discover their true potential.